When she finished drinking some more, her boyfriend was already asleep on the table. She realizes he is unconscious and gets up. She takes all the money out of his pocket and decides to leave while he is unconscious. In the kitchen, very angry, he accuses his wife of stealing, and she doesn't understand what he's saying. Meanwhile, he keeps asking where is the money he had in his pocket. Days before, he comes home and makes a call on his cell phone. On the call, he was talking to his lover, agreeing to go with her to the usual bar, and is happy when she accepts the invitation. He tells her that he will stop by her house to pick her up after work and quietly says goodbye and ends the call. Later, he is in the bedroom, choosing his clothes. When your wife comes in with the baby in her arms, the woman asks where he is going, and he says that he is going to the bar and that he had already said he was going out. Then his wife questions him why again and angrily asks if she's going to lose her temper now because of it. But he just says he has something to do and leaves, leaving her and her son alone in the room. The bar owner is organizing things when he sees Pedro arrive holding hands with a woman. He already says that problems are to come because Pedro owes a lot at the bar and that he comes to drink again with that woman even though he doesn't have a penny in his pocket. Excited, Pedro enters the bar with his lover, greeting the owner. He says smiling that he went to the bar for a beer and that he doesn't miss a day. He pulls out a chair for his lover to sit in. Pedro asks the bar owner for his favorite beer and his lover tells him he's going to have the best drink he has. Pedro then confirms, and at that moment the owner of the bar calls Pedro to talk a little, and the man asks his lover for a moment and goes to talk to the owner of the bar. The two go to the back of the bar and the owner then says that he called him to the back of the bar so as not to embarrass him in front of his wife, and says that he already has a very large account at the bar and that he needs the money to pay the bills. So Pedro asks if he trusts him and the bar owner says yes, but he also has to look his side. Pedro tells him that he cannot embarrass him because he is in the company of a woman, and the owner tells him that he called him a hiding place precisely because of that. Then Pedro says he hasn't been paid yet, but he'll give him $5 and then he'll pay the rest. But the owner says that with that money he won't even pay for what he drank that day. And Pedro laughs, telling him to stay calm and that he will pay. The owner then says he will trust him, and Pedro then asks him to reserve the drink that the woman had ordered. The two return to the bar. Pedro greets his lover and kisses her forehead, saying that he has arrived. She complains about the delay. So Pedro makes up a story saying that the bar owner called him at the back of the bar to ask for money and that he had to lend it to him because he is going through a difficult situation and they have been close friends for years and that he felt obliged to help. The woman says it's a good thing that money isn't a problem for Pedro. Suddenly, Pedro's cell phone starts to ring and the lover asks who is calling. And Pedro asks her to guess. Then she realizes that is his wife and tells Pedro to hang up. The owner arrives with their orders and they both thank him. The bar owner walks away and the two are alone at the table again. They toast and drink together. They declare and kiss. Meanwhile, the owner of the bar finds out about everything. He says that Pedro likes to show off. He leaves his wife and son at home to go out with his mistress. He says he won't get involved, but that Pedro should be careful. Later, Pedro arrives at his house almost falling over from drunkenness and enters without realizing who was there. His wife is watching everything sitting on the couch with her son on her lap. He just passes by without saying anything. Then she gets sad and says that the level he has reached is sad. And crying, she tells her son that she doesn't know what to do, that she doesn't deserve this, and that she knows very well what he was doing at the bar. After a few minutes, she puts her son to sleep in her room and goes to see her husband. She enters that room and tries to wake up, saying that she prepared something for him to eat. But Pedro is ignorant to his wife and says that she is bothering him to wake him up. She tells him to at least take off his dirty clothes, but he yells that he's resting, that if he wants to eat he'll eat, so his wife leaves him alone. The next day, His wife is in the kitchen taking care of their child when she asks where Pedro is going, and he replies that he is going to the bar again. Indignantly, his wife told him that she had already warned him that today was the day to clean the house and that he had to take care of the child for her. Pedro says he won't take care of the boy and asks what's wrong with him going to the bar. His wife replies that she can't handle it. Then Pedro asks if she thinks Pedro is capable of taking care of the boy. She tells him that the child is also his and asks him not to do this to them because he will regret it. But Pedro just says he won't regret anything, that he goes to the bar to have fun. He just says the child is hers, and she says she can't believe what he's doing, acting like that. Pedro tells to let him enjoy life and to stop annoying him. His wife tells him that the child needs a diaper, but he says it's not his problem. He says, ironically, that she wants the diapers, so she should stay home alone to take care of the baby. Pedro goes beyond the limits. He is at the bar sleeping while drunk when the owner arrives with another drink. The mistress encourages him to take the glass and he drinks. They laugh and then the two kiss. As the minutes pass, Pedro continues to drink more and get drunk, always with his lover urging him to drink more. An hour later, Pedro is already partially lying on the table and sleeping. When his lover gets up, she came up with the idea to take money out of his pocket, as Pedro was unconscious. She takes that money and leaves him alone, drunk and sleeping. The owner is taking care of the bar when the lover approaches him saying that Pedro slept at the bar table and that he has to take care of it because she is leaving, and says that since they are friends he has to fend for himself, so she leaves Pedro passed out. The bar owner doesn't know what to do, but decides to wake up Pedro and take him home. So the bar owner tries to wake up Pedro and says he can't sleep in the bar. But the first thing Pedro asks is where is his girlfriend? And the bar owner says she left him alone because he fell asleep and was too drunk. Pedro orders another beer, but the owner tells him that he is going to close the bar and take him home because his wife must be worried. So Pedro says he can't drive, but the bar owner says he'll give him a ride. Then the two leave towards Pedro's house. After knocking on the door, Pedro's wife opens it and discovers that the bar owner brought in Pedro drunk. She asks what happened and the owner just says that he had to close the bar quickly to take him away. She hears the whole story and thanks him for his help. So the bar owner tells her he has to talk to her and she says she's going to take Pedro inside and come back so they can talk. Minutes later, she talks to him again and apologizes for the inconvenience she put him through. Then it starts to be explained to her that Pedro owes a lot at the bar and that he hasn't paid for the ones he buys at the establishment for a long time. So he says he needs that money because he's in debt. The wife then tells him that he can be sure that he will get the money at the end of the month. The owner thanks and apologizes for having to charge, but the woman apologizes as well. The two say goodbye and she closes the door. Hours later, she is washing the dishes. When Pedro arrives in the kitchen annoyed and accuses his wife of stealing, she doesn't understand and he asks where the money is. She says that she didn't see any money and that it came from the bar brought by the owner. Then Pedro says he would never suspect the bar owner because he would never rob him and that between him and his wife he knows his wife would. His wife then says that he must have lost the money at the bar or spent it on other people. But Pedro keeps saying that he wants the money and that if she doesn't give him his money, she will see what happens. Then he walks away from her, leaving her alone. Hours later, the woman is on the phone with her mother, complaining that she can no longer live with such an irresponsible husband. She says that a few days ago, Pedro came home drunk and asked her not to separate from him, because he loves her very much. The wife's mother offers the house to go back to and she then says that she will take care of and fix everything. She then thanks and says goodbye to her mother. The next day, his wife follows Pedro to the bar and sees him kissing his lover. In disbelief in that scene, she says she doesn't deserve to go through this and leaves. At home, she calls her mother again saying that she is not well at all, that she is no longer well with her husband and that she is going home because she reached the limit, and said that when she arrived she would tell her everything that had happened. Then they said goodbye. She packs her bags and leaves with her son. When Pedro comes home and asks where she thinks she's going, then she says that she is leaving because she is tired of that life and living in this situation. Pedro then says that she doesn't rule anything, but she tells him to get on with his life and that she will get on with hers and leave. Pedro says that later she shouldn't look for him again, wanting to come back, because if she left, he would never take her back. Two months later, the mistress is helping Pedro up the stairs, complaining that he is drinking too much and has to get better soon, because she won't be able to carry him every day. When he suddenly falls to the ground, the desperate lover tries to wake him up urgently. But he doesn't wake up fully, he hits his head, so, desperate, she urgently calls the nearest hospital, and when she is answered, she explains the situation, says that her husband hit his head and has been unconscious for a few seconds. She is very afraid that something serious has happened. She then thanks and ends the call. After finishing the call, the lover tells her that she is leaving and that she will not stay there because otherwise they will leave everything to her. Hours later, Pedro's ex-wife receives the news that he has had an accident and is paralyzed and asks which hospital he is in. Desperate, she said she would see him 2 months after the accident. Pedro is in a wheelchair with his son on his lap, while his ex-wife pushes him towards the house. Pedro says that first he wants to apologize for everything he did to her, because she didn't deserve to go through any of that, and that he never valued the woman he had in the house, and that now, seeing her helping him, he can see that she really loved it, so he apologizes again. The ex-wife responds that of course she forgives him and that she won't leave him alone in this situation, and that he is also the father of her child. Pedro then asks her to accept him again so he can rebuild the family. But she replies that she doesn't know if she can accept him again and doesn't know if he deserves it. And you, in my place, would give him a second chance? Leave it here in the comments.